Good evening and welcome to the Beverly School Committee's Curriculum, Instruction, and Student Life meeting. Today is Wednesday, January 12th, 2022, and we are meeting in a hybrid model today using a remote meeting application provided at no cost to our district with captioning, allowing for remote participation and for public access to the open portions of the meeting. We are also recording tonight and being broadcast and streamed by BevCam. Thank you, BevCam. On June 16th, 2021, the governor signed Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Among other things, the bill allows public bodies to continue to hold meetings remotely until April 1st, 2022. This specifically suspends the need for a quorum and the chair to be physically present and asks our body to use technical methods to allow safe public to access. We would encourage viewers to utilize the BevCam streaming options this evening, if possible. As a note, Beverly has prior approval for remote participation, although the chair and a quorum will be physically present when this act expires. Joining us today are members of the school committee and various members of the district administration and leadership teams. We will conduct a full roll call and attendance in a moment for the record, since the meeting application sometimes does not allow all participants. Please remember that any audio, video you supply on this platform will be part of the meeting record. As such, use your mute functionality to prevent background noises. I would now like to ask President Abel to conduct a roll call to ensure you can both hear me and that we can hear you this evening.
Sure. Why don't we start this time with our remote participants, and I would ask our student representatives to confirm that they can hear and see us. I see Mia Kasperwitz. Mia, could you come off mute and make sure you can hear and see us? I saw you come off mute, but we weren't quite able to hear you. Give us just one moment to see if we need to turn the volume up on our television here. I'm going to ask Mia in one moment to try one more time.
Right now, I just brought it up.
Very faintly.
We're not getting it. I mean, we would be hearing it loud through here.
Let's try one more person real quickly. Charmaine, would you mind coming off of mute and seeing if we can hear you any better? Thank you. I can see that Charmaine came off of mute, but we're not hearing the volume. So we're going to troubleshoot that just a little bit. We also are joined by Oliver Wagner. Oliver, if you would indulge us in coming off of mute to try to communicate with us here in the room. Oliver, are you hearing me all right? I very, very faintly heard Oliver confirm that he can hear us, but how about we go around the room real quickly. In the room, we are joined by Dr. Jeffrey Silva, school committee member.
Here.
We have Liz Karan, our recording secretary. We have Dr. Dorothy Flaherty, assistant superintendent. Miss Bethany Splansky. And Miss Karen Robinson.
Here.
And I'm Rachel Abel. We are also joined by Dr. Suzanne Chirocek. Here. Miss Erin Brown. Here. And Miss Lisa Oliver. Here. Additional participants online are Dr. Andre Morgan. I saw him come off mute, but we'll figure this out in just a second. We also have Principal Betty Taylor. Thank you for trying. And our citizen representative, Karen Goodnow McGuire. Okay, so Karen is hearing us and we're just not getting the volume back. Let me just make a couple suggestions to BevCam, but if you want to continue, Ms. Robinson, that's all right.
What do you think?
I'm thinking maybe your mute button is on.
No, it's off. I learned my lesson on that about a year ago.
I'd like to ask Dr. Jeffrey Silva to lead us in the pledge tonight. Which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
Rest it
for
with
all.
some setting on this TV. I'm texting Robert. Have them try again. That may have helped.
Don't mind. Mia Kasperwitz, I'm going to try one more time. If you could come off mute and speak, I'd appreciate it. Very faintly. Okay. Well, if someone does want to speak online, I can always unmute my own computer and we can at least hear a little bit of volume through my computer. It will be a little echoey, but it should be okay.
So I'd like to turn this over to Dr. Dorothy Flaherty.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. And let me start by just quickly giving you an overview of our agenda this evening. In a few minutes, I'll ask you to approve the minutes from our December 8th, 2021 meeting. We will then introduce two of our new members on the school committee that, well, not new to the school committee. Dr. Silver is new to school committee, and Ms. Karen Robinson is new to CISL. We'll hear from our student representatives. I know I applaud them because a couple of them are not feeling well, but are still at the meeting. So they may not feel like talking, but if they want to type anything into the chat box, we will share their comments as well. And then our focus topics this evening will be an overview of some changes to our kindergarten registration process, which has begun and going well. I will give you some updates on time on learning, which was a request that came at our last school committee meeting. We have our middle school principal here with us, Mrs. Lisa Oliver, to talk about student life at the middle school and to give you a good overview of after-school activities, clubs, and sports that are available for our middle school students. And then for our new members, I just wanted to revisit our CISL, it's not a draft anymore, it was adopted, but it's our overview of the agenda that we have remaining for the year, in case there are any topics that you would like us to try to work into our overall agenda. So if we could start this evening, we need to have a motion to approve the minutes from the December 8th, 2021 CISL meeting.
Sure, I will make a motion to approve the meeting records from our December 8th, 2021 meeting.
And I will second because I was the only other one there.
It's true.
Right. So, Ms. Abel, can you help us with a roll call vote?
Absolutely. And I'm wondering if folks at home wouldn't mind either speaking very loudly so we can hear that faint voice, or if you're not feeling well, give us a thumbs up indicator. I think the reactions panel should be available on your Zoom screen, and I will read that as a yes. And I will look for chat if anyone disagrees. Why don't we start with our student representatives, Mia Kasperwitz?
Here.
And your volume is there. That is wonderful. It was so great to hear your voice. Okay, we have it figured out. Charmaine? Thumbs up. Okay. Oliver Wagner?
Here.
Okay. And are the minutes looking to your satisfaction? Would you vote in favor of approving them? Oliver?
I wasn't here for the last meeting.
Okay.
I missed the last one.
Okay, so abstain. Thank you very much. And then let's go to our citizen representative, Karen Goodnow-McGuire.
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Flaherty
Yes.
and Rachel Abel, yes. Ms. Robinson?
I'll abstain because I was not here as well.
Okay, and Dr. Silva?
I'll abstain.
Okay. The motion has passed with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor and 3 abstentions.
So for all of our members, those that are virtual, and then the members that are here in the room and that work closely with this committee, we wanted to welcome and introduce 2 new members to our CISL community and committee. The first is Ms. Karen Robinson, who was on CISL previously and had then moved over to finance and is now back and chairing the committee. So we're very excited to have you back. And Dr. Jeffrey Silver, who will be new to the committee, and we're very excited to have you on CISL, which, for your education, the acronym stands for Curriculum, Instruction, and Student Life. And so we talk about anything that has to do with curriculum and instruction. We have students that are on the committee that you'll hear from in just a moment, and they will give us updates of what's going on at the middle school and the high school level. And they do a wonderful job. So welcome, and know that I'm here to help make it a smooth transition and answer any questions that you may have. Okay, so now always the best part of the meeting is when we hear from our student representatives. And tonight, why don't we start with Mia from the high school, Beverly High School.
Hi. So I've started my indoor track season, and so it's going pretty well. I'm really excited for it to continue, and I'm glad we're able to continue practicing because this new outbreak with COVID, I'm just really thankful that we're still able to practice and go to school. And I think our school is doing a really good job at making sure everyone wears their masks and just social distancing. And so I think if we continue this, we'll definitely be able to hopefully get back to normal. And I'm excited for when that happens.
Thank you. And I do not believe Connor is with us, but our other representative from the high school is Connor Hathaway. But we do have Oliver Wagner from the middle school with us this evening.
Hello. I don't really have anything from my personal student life, but I have been hearing a lot of complaints from my grade and a lot from the school, especially about the shortened lunch times. And a lot of people want to get that back up to 30 minutes. So I was told to bring that up.
All right. Well, we are lucky because we have Mrs. Oliver with us this evening, and I'm sure she's hearing your comments, and we'll follow up. I know Charmaine is not feeling well, but I wanted to give you an opportunity if you wanted to share anything. You could type it if you wanted to, or do you just want to listen tonight?
I have something typed out. Let me send it.
I can read that for you.
Okay, Mrs. Abel will read that for you. And our other middle school representative is Kamora Page, and I do not believe she is with us this evening.
Okay. Charmaine writes, "Hello, everyone. As we kick off the new year, many 8th graders are preparing for high school. I believe one of our counselors, Miss Lily, is helping us prepare for student interviews. For the past month, I've been surveying my peers, and 60% of Hale reported having an interest in applying to Essex Tech or other high schools. I personally believe it's great that we're starting to put thought into our future, starting with our education."
Thank you, and we also hope you're feeling better. That was great insight, and I know this is an exciting time for the spring as you start to look at where you may go for high school, and we hope that most of you will decide to stay here with us at Beverly High, but we also love the fact that you're exploring and looking at all of your options. So thanks for that update. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to everybody Ms. Bethany Splansky, our Director of Student Services and Student Personnel, and she will talk to you about the new kindergarten registration process.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. So some of you may remember back when we had an in-person kindergarten registration process where we had dates and parents would come and register for kindergarten. And now we've changed our process to an online portal. So the way that it works now is parents can go onto our portal and upload their registration documents. The upload process is really easy. They can either be uploaded by scanning them to a PDF or by taking a picture with your phone. And then once the documents are uploaded, there's some additional forms that are filled out through the portal, and that's how students get registered for kindergarten. So our portal is now open, and families who register by January 31st are prioritized for placement in their home school. For parents who are looking for information about kindergarten registration, it can be found on our website by going to district information and then enrolling your child and then kindergarten registration. And we have a whole bunch of different documents there to help. We've got a frequently asked questions document. We have a parent video. We've got the link to the portal and also a link if you're not sure what your homeschool assignment is. In the past, we used to do a parent information night, but now we've switched that over to a parent video so that it can be accessed from your home at your convenience, and it has all the information about both the registration process and also our kindergarten program. We sent out our frequently asked question document to all of our families who are preschool and elementary aged families through Connect Ed, and that translates the document into 31 languages. So it was provided to everybody in their home language. We also have some translated documents on our website. And if there are any families who have any questions or need help with the registration process, they can reach out to Stacy Adams for any assistance.
And I know we just started, but have you... I know we just started, but is there a sense of people are already registering? Does it seem to be going like a normal flow?
Yeah, people are already registering. We've had no issues so far. The only thing really to be aware of when parents are registering is that you do need to upload the documents at the time of the registration. So there's no way to go in and start the registration and then save and come back later. So it's really important to get those documents prepared ahead of time, but we've had no issues so far with our process.
And will we do any follow-up survey or anything with parents to see how they liked the online process versus the in-person process at the end?
Yeah, we certainly can. Yep.
Are there any other questions about kindergarten registration?
Yes, Karen.
Yes, I can say that I actually, on the first day it was up, I registered my son for kindergarten, and the process was very smooth. I had registered my daughter in the in-person, going to McEwen and waiting in line and everything, and this was much easier.
Oh, that's great feedback to hear. Mrs.
Yes,
Abel?
and I was prepared with all my documents because of the email. Otherwise, I would have had no idea. But yeah, I was prepared and it went smoothly. So thank you.
Fantastic.
I have to admit, I'm a little jealous. I have a 7th and 8th grader in the district, and I think it was, like getting concert tickets back in the day when we would stand out in the freezing cold and try to be first in. But I'm so happy to hear that experience from Ms. Goodnow-McGuire. I think that's a great improvement, and COVID does have those silver linings. So
That's great. Yes, that's our theme for the year. Is we're looking for the silver linings, right? Well, thank you very much, and we continue.
Can I just get that date again when they need to enroll by to make sure they're in their home school?
Sure. For families who register by the end of January 31st, they're prioritized. We'll prioritize, obviously, all families to be placed at their home school, but as long as you register within the month of January, it's not an issue.
And I just want to echo what everybody said. I think we've really just come so far with kindergarten over the past 2 years, everything. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing on our agenda, at the last school committee meeting, there was some discussions around potentially having some additional early release time, either this year or for next year. And the first step in doing that was we needed to see where we were with time on learning requirements at all 3 levels, elementary, middle school, and high school. And so I worked with the principals to take a look at that, and that would be our first piece of looking at the feasibility of making any changes to the calendar and to schedules. And while we all would love to have additional professional collaboration, it is a law, so we needed to make sure that we were at the minimum amount of hours before we could talk about anything. So this evening, we will share that information with you, and hopefully it will be helpful to future school committee discussions either this evening or at the committee meeting of the whole in 2 weeks. And we will also, as the leadership team brings the proposed calendar for next school year forward on January 28th, we will also be making some recommendations for the committee to consider. So first, just to review the state law, there are minimum number of what is called structured learning hours, and you'll see in a moment the difference between there's total hours, so that is the total minutes that students are in school, but then there's a whole list of things that need to be reduced and taken off of the total number of hours in order to get down to the actual time that is allocated for instructional learning. And so at the secondary level for the high school, they have to have a minimum of 990 hours. And at the elementary school level, it's 900 hours. Middle schools are allowed to be considered either secondary or elementary, but mostly in most districts, as in ours, when they're a standalone building, they tend to be looked at as a K-8 continuum, and then the 912 is your secondary. And so for us, preschool and kindergarten are not included. They don't have to meet the same requirement. But for grades 1 through 8, we are considering them as elementary school, which means that they need to make 900 hours of instructional time. And that has to be voted on annually by the school committee, which will be done when you approve the program of studies each year. So the long list of things that need to be taken off of your total learning time, total school time, includes anything that has to do with eating time. So breakfast, lunch, snack time, recess. If you have a homeroom, that has to be deducted off. If you have advisory, which the high school has, that does not have to be removed because that's considered academic strategies that you're using. So homeroom has to be deducted, advisory does not. Passing time, so any time that's used to pass between classes. Any non-instructional assemblies or field trips. Non-directed studies, which that isn't a concern for us because we don't have studies at either the middle school or the high school. And then the biggest impact for us is our early release days and our delayed start time. So where did we find that we stood? In Beverly, our structured learning time broke down like this. For Beverly High School, they have a total of 1,008 hours. And once you take out time for early release days, they have some delayed start for MCAS. They also have early release for exam periods. They are just at our 990 hours. So they do not have any flexibility for additional time. And in fact, if Dr. Trocek called a delayed opening for school, we would have to look at altering the schedule and eliminating either a delayed start for MCAS or an early release time for the exam schedule. The middle school has the most flexibility. They have a total of 960 hours, and once you take out the time that they have 951 hours and 10 minutes. So they do have quite a lot of flexibility over the 900 hours currently. This is looking at this year. We do anticipate having a little bit more flexibility at the elementary school next year. You'll see that they're significantly below where the middle school is. And the main reason, it's kind of surprising when you see how quickly time adds up. Just 10 minutes a day can add 15 hours to the whole school year. And we have our staggered arrivals and dismissals due to COVID and trying to stagger social distancing. So they've lost some additional hours this year because of COVID. But we anticipate that things will be better and we'll be able to add in at least 15 more hours to that for next year. But right now they're at 912. So they have a little bit of flexibility for this year, but not a lot. And so this, again, was the first step in helping you with your discussions, either later this evening or at the Committee of the Whole meeting. And as I said, we'll be bringing some other recommendations forward, but I didn't know if anybody had questions about this. Okay. Then it's my pleasure to introduce to you Mrs. Lisa Oliver, our middle school principal, to talk about student life, after-school activities, clubs, and sports.
Thank you, and good evening to everybody. Thank you for having me tonight.
Oh, you have to press the...
Now my mic is on. Thank you for having me tonight. Pleasure to be here. I'm here to talk a little bit about after-school activities. Some of what I'm presenting today has been requested by students because students are able to request a club that they would like to see happen at the middle school, and then we work with the adults in the building to facilitate that. And some of our clubs are teacher-driven based on past experience of items that students have really enjoyed. So some items that we have going on this year, as you can see, our art club, drama and theater. We just completed our first musical this year, which was a big success. STEM club, chess and cribbage club. In terms of music, we have flute club, we have a marching band club, international friendship club. We have a yearbook club, which is very popular, GSA club, equity, diversity, and inclusion club. And just as an example, a student recently asked for a badminton club, so we have that up and running in the gym. A huge hit this year was a cheerleading club. We had probably 75 girls that were interested in doing some cheering in the gym after school, and that was probably our most popular club thus far. Currently, we just added a cooking club. We're working with the PTO. That's a PTO-sponsored club where we have Taste Buds Kitchen coming in and utilizing our facility here for students to learn how to bake. We have a math league. We have Best Buddies. We have National Junior Honor Society. There's a student council, and there's also peer leaders. In terms of sports, we do have track and cross country, basketball, flag football, soccer. Some of these sports have not begun yet and will be happening in the spring, so we're really looking forward to that. And again, hoping we get through some of our COVID items with masks and students can return to somewhat of normal playing time. Also, I wanted to just take the time to say that we do have tutoring for all students after school. There is a way for students, which has been sent out to them, to sign up for tutoring. And we also have high school students coming down and working with some of our middle school students for tutoring. A personal plug here, something that I would really like to see happen at the middle school is more community service. And so we do have obviously some of that happening already with our peer leaders and our National Junior Honor Society. But for me personally, I really would like to see more of that happening, and it's something that we're working on here at the middle school. Thank you.
Miss Oliver, Charmaine is typing in that she wanted to make sure we also highlight the other musical clubs that include All City Jazz Band and Orchestra Club.
Thank you. I apologize that I did not include them on my list, and they're very important. Thank you.
Mrs. Dr. Silver.
In terms of the tutoring,
Yep.
can you explain how the sign up works, and just to get an understanding of how easy it is to sign up and have kids get access to tutoring?
Absolutely. There's two ways that you can sign up for tutoring. All teachers have access to an online form to give to students so that they can fill that out, and those come to me. And we match students up with teachers that have volunteered for a stipend to pay to work with students. And then also, in addition to that, we do a match up with high school students. In addition to that, we did send the sign-up form to students on Aspen, and so all students have access to the Google form to sign up for tutoring.
And is that usually during a fixed period of time, on a rotating schedule?
Yeah,
Or?
thank you for asking that question because I left it out for even all of our clubs. We have a late bus here at the middle school Monday through Thursday that comes at 3:45. So we're creating schedules based on individual need between Mondays and Thursdays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Karen Goodnow-McGuire, I see your hand is up, and I don't know if that's left over from the kindergarten registration or if you had another question.
Oh, nope. I guess it's left over. Oops. I didn't realize I had to look at the hand. Sorry.
Thank you. Mrs. Abel.
Sure. I'd add, as a parent to 2 middle schoolers, I also saw invitations that came out with our daily emails that we get from the librarian, Ms. Wozniak, that just let parents know that that opportunity exists. So if your teachers aren't telling you or your students aren't telling you, parents did get a heads up as well that that was an opportunity for students this year. A couple of different options for that as well.
Thank you.
Mrs. Oliver, is it part of a guidance meeting or a parent meeting with teachers? Will they share that opportunity with parents in case their students aren't necessarily sharing that information with them?
Yes, absolutely. If there is a parent meeting, that is certainly something that we can share. And it's also gone out on Homeward Bound to parents as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I think the exciting part is I believe all of you here have middle school or older children that have gone through middle school. And you know that as important to middle school students as academics is the social learning piece. And we need to give them lots of different types of opportunities so that they can find their interests. And we're really excited with this list, and I know that it's ever growing. And when you come in and check out the big boards that are here, it's scrolling all the time so that students can see those opportunities. So we look forward to maybe even bringing some other suggestions forward later this spring. Mrs. Abel.
I would just add, you know, from my students, from their perspective, sometimes it's hard to choose on a Tuesday, which is the most
right
important
activity,
one
yeah.
to be. But yeah, I think the offering, having that returns to somewhat normal this year has been an absolute treasure. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, is there a cost for any of these?
That's a great question. There is not a cost with the exception of the Taste Buds Kitchen, which was a sign up. But outside of that, there is not a cost. And track. I'm sorry, and track.
And track.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is to take a look at our topics that we'll be looking at this spring. And you'll be able to see that there is some flexibility. Originally, our meeting for tonight was supposed to focus around mental health issues, but we did need to make sure that we covered the student learning time because that was going to be a topic for discussion at a later meeting. And also based on some things that we may be bringing forward around activities in the upcoming weeks and months, we wanted you to have an overview of what's already happening at the middle school. So we will move a bulk of the items from this month's agenda into February. And so you can see if there is a topic that you would like, we can move things around based on priorities. But this just kind of gives us a framework to work towards. And if you have other items that you would like us to embed in here, you can reach out to me, and then Mrs. Robinson and I work through creating the agenda, and we can figure out where we will fit it in the coming months. But next week,
I may have missed this. Was this part of the information package that was sent out before the meeting?
that was not. No, this was approved by the committee at the beginning of the year. I can share this with you.
Yes.
We were going to go through this. You'll see it now, and then I can send it to you later on. It was not
Great.
part of the packet.
Okay.
And so the items that we had, and we'll move forward for next month, will be to look at the mental health issues and start with the framework and review, update you, and educate you around the CASL framework, which is what we use. We will move the English language learners, that was the focus topic for February, to March in order to give us more time to complete the topics from this month in February. We do have a few items that have to happen when they are. For instance, we need to be able to talk about the program of studies in February for the high school because they start their registration process in March. And so that will be something that will happen at the February meeting as well. And they'll look at new course proposals, any changes to the program of studies, and then this committee will vote on the program of studies. In March, we'll look at the proposed curriculum changes or new courses for the middle school and elementary school, and then we'll also do the overview of our English language learner program. In April, we have the middle school on as a spotlight school to share and look at some of the great things that are happening here in a curriculum focus. That will probably, for the most part, be focused on our new math curriculum and share some updates from both the high school and the middle school on how that implementation is going. We will also look at district improvement plans that month, so you'll have all the principals here to give you an update on how they're doing with their school improvement plan and district improvement plans. And then we'll take that and roll it into the following meeting in May, where we'll be proposing new plans that need to be approved. In May, we will also look at handbook changes that will happen, or proposed handbook changes that need to happen. And then we always try to end the year with some showcase of learning, and hopefully by then we can be back in person and not see it as a video. I also do know that Mrs. Abel had talked to me about policy work that has been starting to reoccur, and so in some of these meetings, we may need to do some review of policies as well. Any questions? Again, you're just seeing this. If you have topics that you would like to see added, you can just email me or give me a call, and we will find a way to work them into the overall schedule. Any questions? If there are no questions, I believe that may be the end of our agenda.
Can I get do you have a question, Dr. Silva?
Because I'm new to this committee, I'd just like to get a feeling for how this is, the process that happens to put this schedule together. So is there
There was a survey back done at the beginning of the school year, sent out to all of the committee members. They sent their information in to me. I compiled and looked at the topics that people were looking, try to compare and combine similar topics into a month. I came forward with the draft schedule for the year, and the committee voted on that back in November, I believe.
And there's in the past, the process is the same. So in the past, there's a schedule of activities, and that's the process that the committee goes through to put this schedule together.
Yes,
Okay.
and as I said, it's fluid because it's hard to plan a whole year because you never know what unexpected things may arise or come up throughout the year, and so it's kind of a framework to go with, but it's not, wedded in stone. We can move things around as needs arise.
Okay, great, thank you.
So we don't have any action items for this evening?
We do not.
Okay.
Just
And-
the minutes, which we've already done.
Okay, and just that we have upcoming meetings, February 9th, March 9th, April 13th, May 11th, and June 8th. So
Correct.
those are our CISL meetings for the year. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All right. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Dr. McKenzie. Okay, welcome everyone to the Beverly School Committee regular school committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, January 12th, 2022, if you can believe it. We are meeting in a hybrid fashion this evening using a remote meeting application that is provided at no cost to our district with captioning. This allows for remote participation and public access to the open portions of our meeting. We are also being broadcast and streamed on BevCam, so thank you, BevCam. On June 16th, 2021, the governor signed Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Among other things, this bill allows for public bodies to continue to hold meetings remotely until April 1st, 2022. This specifically suspends the need for a quorum and the chair to be physically present, although we are this evening, and asks our body to use technical methods to allow for safe public access. We would encourage viewers at home to utilize the BevCam streaming option this evening if possible. As a note, Beverly has prior approval from the Attorney General's office for remote meeting participants, although in those cases, the chair and a quorum must be physically present. So that would be the alternative when the act expires. Tonight is a regular school committee meeting, which means we do have an agenda item for addressing the body during our meeting. That will be coming up around 7:45. Joining us today are members of the school committee and various members of the district administration and leadership teams, and I will conduct a full roll call attendance since the meeting application sometimes does not display all of the participants. I'd like to confirm with those members participating remotely, especially that they can see and hear us this evening. Please do remember that any audio or video that you supply on this platform will become part of the meeting record, and as such, you should use the mute functionality to prevent background noises. I will now conduct that roll call to ensure that you are able to hear and see me and that we can hear and see you this evening. I'm going to start first with the in-person. We have Mayor Mike Cahill.
Here.
Ms. Kimberly Coelho.
Here.
Dr. Ken-Ann McKenzie.
Here.
Ms. Karen Robinson.
Here.
Dr. Jeffrey Silva.
Here.
Ms. Lorinda Visnick.
Here.
And I am Rachel Abel. We're also joined by Dr. Suzanne Chorocek. Here. Dr. Dorothy Flaherty just ran out. We will probably see her later. Ms. Jean Sherburne. Remotely, we have Dr. Andre Morgan.
Present.
In person, Ms. Erin Brown. Here. And Ms. Donna Bergeron is our executive secretary. Here. Thank you. We also have Ms. Bethany Splansky. Here. Joining us online, we have Dana Krushank.
Here.
And we have Jody Elder.
Here.
We have Erin Sweeney.
Here.
Gabrielle Montevecchi.
Here.
Let me just look, I think. Oh, we have Miss Betty Taylor.
Here.
And I believe that's it for the moment. I will check back there. We're also joined by some guests. We have Sarah Lesser.
Here.
Thank you. Okay. Have I called everyone for the minutes? Okay, I believe I have. So now that we have conducted our roll call, we all are physically present, so we do not need to do roll call votes this evening, which will save us a little bit of time. So without further ado, I'd like to ask our newest member, Dr. Jeffrey Silva from Ward 4, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Okay, tonight we are very honored to have so many people present as we recognize the following NEC All-Stars, All-Conference, Salem News, and Eastern Mass Award recipients for our student athletes. So Dr. Chorocek.
All right, thank you very much. You're going to join me up here? Sure. Yeah. So, and I think I can I can face this way, I'm not sure. Hopefully, because that's where you all are. So first of all, thank you all for being here. It is so exciting when we have a room full of people and someone to come in here and celebrate. So we're really happy to have you here. And I know Mrs. Taylor is joining us online. So Mrs. Taylor, if you want to pipe in, if I miss anything, let me know. All right, so we are recognizing the following students. First of all, for boys soccer, for the NEC, Nick Braganca, the NEC Player of the Year, All-State, All-New England, East Mass All-Star, and the Salem News Player of the Year. That's quite an accomplishment. I don't know if Nick is here. I know that we have a few practices and games that are going on this evening, so some of our athletes weren't able to make it. T.O. Burbick, the NEC First Team All-Star, Eastern Mass All-Star, Salem News All-Star. Ian Visnick, I know he's here, the NEC First Team All-Star, Eastern Mass All-Star, and Salem News All-Star. Ian, come on up. You got to show them how it's done. There you go. Thank you. Nice job. Congratulations. Henry Bell for the NEC Second Team All-Star, and Nick Fox, NEC Second Time All-Star. So those are our boys soccer all-stars. Thank you, Ian, for representing for all of them. I'm sure they appreciate that. We have girls soccer, the NEC All-Conference and Salem News All-Stars, Kaylee Crowell, and the NEC All-Star, Claire Breen. So we'll make sure they get their kudos when we see them. At boys cross country, NEC and Salem News All-Star, Liam Ouellette. Congratulations, Liam. Girls cross country for the NEC All Conference, Mia Kasperowitz, Emily Young, and Olivia Young. Come up if you're here. Congratulations. Glad you guys came up. It's getting nervous.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you. And I don't know if I read, that was the NEC All Conference, NEC All-Star, Hannah McCarthy, Mary Hawk, and Allison Price. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. And then the Salem News All-Stars, I think they have each already been up here. Olivia Young, Emily Young, Mia Kasperowitz, and Hannah McCarthy. So congratulations to all of you guys. We have our volleyball, NEC All-Conference and Salem News All-Star, Natalie Reynolds. Glad you're here. Congratulations, Natalie. We have our NEC All-Star, Beatrice Lesser, and I believe Beatrice is joining us online, so congratulations, Beatrice. Caroline Closet and Maya Perrin. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And also Salem News All-Stars were Maya Perrin and Beatrice Lesser, so congratulations to you both. For field hockey, we have the NEC All-Conference and Salem News All-Star Jamie DuPont. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I saw your coat, so I knew you were
Yeah, we knew someone was here. And then we also had, for field hockey, NEC All-Stars Noelle McLean and Ella Malablocky. Congratulations, my dear. For golf, we have NEC All-Conference, and Salem News All-Stars Aiden LeBlanc, and he was also Player of the Year. I don't know if Aiden is here. And Cam Cook, I believe there's a hockey game tonight, I'm not sure. Cam Cook was also there. And we had NEC All-Star Jack Ryan, Ian Paddock, and Will Ryan. And so those are the golf recognitions. For football, for our NEC All-Conference, Zachary Sparkman. And our NEC All-Conference in Salem News, Andre Sullivan, Jordan Irvine, and Grant Easton. And I know some of them are here. Congratulations. Thank you. My lunch partner. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then finally, NEC All-Star Devin Smalls. Congratulations, Devin. Nice job. So we also have a couple of adult awards to give out tonight. We have for Coach of the Year, NEC Coach of the Year, David Jellerson for girls cross country. And I'd like to add that David Jellison is also the Salem News Coach of the Year, so congratulations to you for that as well. Awesome job, congratulations. And then finally, our NEC Coach of the Year for golf, Craig Wiley. Congratulations, awesome. Thank you. Awesome.
Sorry
All
about that.
right.
All right, thank you.
All right. So that's all. That concludes our recognitions for our athletes.
Yeah, and thank you so much for making time to be here this evening. I know with your schedules, it must be crazy with sports and academics, but we really appreciate how you represent Beverly. So thank you so much.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
a quick recess?
Sure. Why don't we have a 5-minute recess? We'll reconvene at 7:46. Thank you for indulging us in that brief recess. It's so nice to see so many families and student athletes with us in the in-person environment. Now also in person, we have our student representative, Hollis Colby, is here to present the report to the school committee. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I just have a recap of January and some dates coming up that are pretty important. So January 3rd, students returned back from school to school from holiday vacation. Friday, January 7th, there's no school due to a snow day. And there's no school coming up this January 17th on Monday for Martin Luther King Day. The week of the 24th to the 28th will be midterms for year-long classes and finals for semester classes. And on Monday, the 24th, classes will be normal, and Tuesday will be the first day of the midterms and finals. The midterms will take place from 8:15 to 11:45. You take 2 tests per day for 2 classes. Lunch will be served, even though it's not required for students to stay for lunch. But it will be served from 11:50 to 12:20, and students will be free to be dismissed after their exams if they don't stay for lunch, and makeups for tests if they miss it from the previous day, or maybe possibly coming up days and they just won't be there, are from 12:30 to 1:30, and extra help hours are also from 12:30 to 2:33. And these hours are after the days on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And the second semester will start the following week on the 31st. And that is all for January.
Thank you so much for that recap of those important dates, and I wish you good luck on those finals and midterms, you and all of your classmates. Good luck. Thank you so much. And as always, if you have homework or other commitments, we don't mind if you duck out a little early while we conduct the rest of our business. So thank you for being here. Okay, well, good luck with that. Thank you. Okay. Next on our agenda is the approval of our meeting records. We have had 2 regular meetings since our last. We have December 8th, 2021, which was our regular school committee meeting. We also have January 3rd, 2022, which was our organizational meeting. Let's take these individually. Could I have a motion to approve the December 8th, 2021 regular school committee minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Bisnick.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Were there any edits, corrections, omissions? Not seeing any, therefore I will look for an indication with our hands. All those in favor? I'm counting 6. And Dr. Silva, are you abstaining since you weren't yet
Abstaining.
a member? Thank you. 6, 0, 1 abstention. And now I will entertain a motion to approve the organizational meeting minutes of January 3rd, 2022.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Bisnick.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Were there any edits, corrections, or omissions that we need to correct? Not seeing any, therefore, if you would indicate with your hand if you approve of these minutes. I am counting 7 to 0. Thank you. Next, we have arrived at the portion of our agenda where we will listen to concerns from citizens. I have not received any requests online in advance, and the sign-up sheet was empty. So we'll move right along. Item number 6 on our agenda this evening is items by consensus. The agenda outlines warrants labeled A through E for various amounts that are detailed on the agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion that we collectively approve this series of warrants.
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Are there any questions? All those in favor of approving the warrants? It's 7 to 0. Thank you very much. And now, yes.
Madam Chair, a question. Is one of your updates going to be about the policy about the warrants?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. So, moving right along, I wanted to first report out to the members of public that might be interested the outcome of our organizational meeting. As you can tell, I was re-elected chair since I'm facilitating this meeting this evening on behalf of the committee. It's my pleasure to serve again. I'm joined by our Vice President, Lorinda Visnick, and our Secretary, Karen Robinson. We also have Ms. Visnick chairing the Finance and Facilities Standing Committee, and she is joined on that committee by Dr. Kenan McKenzie and Ms. Kimberly Coelho. Ms. Karen Robinson is chairing our Curriculum Instruction and Student Life Standing Committee, and she is joined by Dr. Jeffrey Silva and myself, Rachel Abel. We also have two other subcommittees, Negotiations, which I will chair, and I will be joined by Ms. Robinson and Dr. Silva, and our Policy Subcommittee that Dr. McKenzie will be chairing, and she will be joined by Ms. Visnick and Ms. Coelho. We also are pleased to report out that we have appointed, at this time, 4 citizen representatives to join our standing committees. For our Curriculum Instruction and Student Life, Ms. Karen Goodnow-McGuire will serve another term as a citizen representative, along with Lorigan Sudak. We appreciate their service and look forward to continuing our work with them. On Finance and Facilities, we will be joined again by Ms. Lindsay Ducharme and Mr. Paul Manzo. I'd like to also note that the chair is appointing Ms. Lindsay Ducharme to continue her work with the Financial Forecasting Subcommittee of the City Council, and a letter has been sent to the city clerk to notify her as such. Okay, so that's really our report out from our organizational meeting. We also have, as Ms. Visnick alluded to, some business to take up this evening, namely, during the remote period of COVID, when we were under emergency conditions, this body had taken an action to suspend the policy DK, the payment procedures process that required 3 members of the school committee to physically sign a hard copy of what we call the warrants, which are all of the invoices that we ask the city to pay out of the school committee's budget or the school department's budget. And I've continued that practice, but in reviewing the minutes, we actually had made the motion to just do that suspension while schools were closed. And obviously we are back in session and we are in a new term. So what I was hoping that we might be able to do as a body this evening is to again entertain a motion to suspend the need for 3 people to physically touch and sign these papers and designate that to 1 individual until such time that Finance and Facility and or the Policy Subcommittee can revisit the choice. And I was reminded during a recent training by MASC that since we have a city auditor, it's actually not a requirement. And the number 3 was never a requirement as well. We felt that it was better to have more people having a look at the different invoices and being informed of where essentially every penny goes. But with COVID and the need to social distance and not necessarily create a lot of traffic in the business office, I feel that it's been working out that, at least 1 member of our committee is there to sign them. The mayor, obviously in his position as mayor, also sees the warrants. So with that information, I would entertain a motion, but I also understand that perhaps a motion might need to be informed by further discussion of the body. Ms. Visnick.
I would make that motion, that we continue to set policy DK aside only until such time as, I don't know how we want to word it, when we're not in as much as a lockdown, until such time as we can roam more freely.
Okay.
So
Do you want to make it until further notice? Or
I don't want to make it until further notice. I think maybe we can say for this school year, and we could revisit in the middle of the year. We can come back and revisit if in fact we find ourselves in a wonderful situation where.
So do you want to say through June 30 then?
Yes, let's
Could always
say that.
revisit if things loosen up
Right.
enough.
Yes, that's what I wish.
And
I'll
really, it's
second
not the whole policy, it's just the need for 3, reduce it
The
to
need for
1
3.
designee.
And then we have to,
And then
draw
we'll appoint
straws.
the designee. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to suspend the need for 3 to allow for 1 designee to review and sign the warrants on behalf of the school committee for our policy DK until June 30th of this year, unless we revisit it sooner.
Yes, that's my motion.
And Mayor Cahill, you second that motion? Okay. Do we want any more discussion? Ms. Biznick?
I want to say that I find a tremendous value in going and looking through them, but I also, both in my role as the chair of FNF, but just in general, but I also recognize that not everyone has the flexibility in their schedule to be able to do it. And so sometimes having to have 3 is a burden. That said, I think that I look forward to when we can go back to having 3, and I'll be happy to be one of the 3. But during our current situation, I'm happy to set it aside, even though I find great value in going there and doing that.
Thank you for that feedback. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor of suspending the need for 3 to have just one designee sign the warrants until June 31st or until 30th, or until we pick it up again? 7-0. Okay. Certainly, I have reason to be next to McEwen School. I'm familiar with the process, and I would continue to sign the warrants on behalf of the committee, but I would also welcome any other interested party that would commit to Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning. It's usually mostly Tuesday mornings that the complete packages are available for inspection in the business office at McEwen. And that's from about 8 o'clock until noontime on Tuesdays.
Like, I nominate you to do it. Do we have to, do we have to nominate?
I don't mind continuing the practice.
Right. I
and,
would. I think I have the flexibility. I could be your backup if you needed a backup.
Okay. As vice president, that's probably a reasonable thing too.
Okay.
Okay. If that's all right with everyone, the chair deems it so. I'll continue the practice of inspecting and reviewing each of the warrants weekly and signing on behalf of the school committee. And I'll work with Dr. McKenzie to make sure that it's picked up by policy and either parsed out to finance and facilities or picked up by policy to review. Okay. Thank you very much. Moving right along, I just have some January dates for us to remember. Our Finance and Facilities and Committee of the Whole meeting is scheduled for January 26th, so do keep that on your calendar. We also, looking a few months out, have a pretty much a solidified date for our joint council meeting. Those who've been playing along at home know the Home Rule Charter requires that the City Council and the school committee meet jointly once per year. And I met with President Flowers and discussed the fact that informing the City Council as we're developing our budget for the next year might be a good use of that joint meeting time. So our intention is to have that as a topic. If there are any other topics that people are interested in entertaining in joint council, please do let Ms. Flowers or myself know, and I can work with the superintendent and the city clerk to make sure that happens. We're thinking for social distancing's sake, we will look to use an auditorium, likely the auditorium here in the middle school, since we recognize the 23rd is a night of a finance and facilities meeting. And so we'd like to make it practical for BevCam and for finance and facilities to obviously be at those 2 back-to-back meetings. So we'll figure out the technical piece.
Oh, okay, because otherwise we use the high school auditorium, maybe. Just a thought.
Yes, we'll figure out what makes the most technical sense with microphones and spacing and giving an opportunity for BevCam to be with us. Mayor Cahill.
Thanks, Madam President. Will that joint meeting be in lieu of a committee of the whole meeting that
It will be in lieu of committee of the whole, but please keep that date regardless. I just need to make sure the city clerk has a quorum from the members of city council. We believe we had that quorum, but I just need to reaffirm and we'll post it as.
And can I also say that that's exciting? I'm looking forward to that, in part to meet with our colleagues on the council and in part because it's going to be spring. Look at that.
The second day of spring, yes. It'll be wonderful.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll
I've
use it.
never done that as in 2 years, so it'll be nice.
Whoa.
Yeah, we were remote and we, yeah, that was about it. Okay. That's all the chair has to report out this evening, and I'm looking forward next to hearing from Dr. Turchek.
So I have, on my report this evening. Thank you. On my report this evening, I have a number of items that we're going to go over. First of all, we'll be hearing about an overnight field trip proposal, the Global Child Fall Enrollment Review for 2021, and then I'll do some COVID updates, attendance for the first couple of weeks since we've been back since break, just an update for all of you so you can see how we're faring on that. Some discussion around mitigation strategies, I think mainly in response to some questions that I've been receiving from either school committee members or from parents, just to kind of give everybody information about what we're doing, some information about upcoming vaccination clinics, and then finally, some information about the testing program and opportunities that we've been offering in the school. So I'm going to begin first. I'm going to invite Stephanie Lowe to join me up here. Stephanie Lowe and Catherine Spolster request approval for a foreign overnight field trip to Paris, Strasbourg, and Munich in April of 2023. The teachers have submitted their information and forms for consideration. As you know, overnight field trips and foreign field trips require at least 6 months approval from the school committee. We're making sure we're here overly ambitious. We're going to make sure we get it in. But I think it's also a really nice feeling to be talking about something like this. So hopefully this will bring some joy to the meeting. And I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie. Thank you.
Yeah, so our field trip,
Yep, your mic's
yeah, yes. Our field trip would start in Paris. It's a 9-day trip. It would start in Paris, then we would move on to Strasbourg and Belleau-Wood, where the Marines had that battle, and then on to Munich. That is taking place in the middle of that April break, I would think, because Easter is that Sunday. So we wanted to leave well after Easter, and that does mean we will return feasibly after break ends. But yeah, any questions? I am taking backup chaperones just in case.
Mayor Cahill.
Thanks, Madam President. This is really cool. What, is it too early to know a whole lot more about the itinerary?
Oh yeah, I have a full itinerary.
Okay. Oh, is it here? I
Put
apologize.
in your.
Probably here. Maybe just a couple highlights then.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So in Paris, we're looking at I think I did Paris with this company before, and we did a full day bus tour around the city and then the Louvre. And we have the option to go to the Gardens of Versailles. From there, like I said, we would do Belleau-Wood and Strasbourg. I'm really looking forward to that. I love World War I history. Then we would go to Neuschwanstein outside Munich and tour that castle. That's Mad Ludwig's castle. It's that famous one that everyone pictures when they think of Germany. And that last day we would go to Dachau concentration camp.
Mm-hmm. And the day in Strasbourg, you just touch a little bit more on the American Cemetery from World War I.
Yes.
That's something.
Yes, so Belleau-Wood was a major battle. I don't know too much about Marine Corps history, but I know it was an important battle in the Marine history. And yeah, that we would tour the wooded area, I believe, and then go to that cemetery. We do have a guide for the entire trip that speaks German, French, and English. So that guide would be able to set us up with any audio tour we may need, and hopefully we'll have more information than I do.
It's fantastic. Dr. Flaherty, maybe we just have to.
Am I gonna have to arm wrestle?
Well, no, maybe we'll just shadow them.
Yes.
How many students are expected to attend, given the history of?
Yeah, the last trip I did with this company, we did not have that many students, not as many as I had hoped. I think it was in 2017, I believe we had 11. This year, we're doing a combined French and German trip to try to get numbers up. And Catherine and I want to open it up to former students of French and German so that those juniors and seniors that haven't been able to do a trip can do one next year, next year's juniors and seniors. So hopefully we'll get around 20, I hope, but the more the merrier. We can always add chaperones.
What is the limit?
I'm not sure that the company has one. The limit is the size of the bus. So they do rent us a coach bus.
Okay.
So I don't know how many people fit on a coach bus, but that's the most we can do.
Thank you so much. Do other members have questions? Not see any. We could entertain, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, just very quick question.
Yeah.
Don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I assume there's going to be insurance and other types of things?
Yes.
So that we could be assured should we still be in some semblance of a pandemic or anything like that, that we can have some security around things like perhaps any sort of insurance around health or being able to get refunds and that kind of thing.
Yes. So ACIS is the company I'm working with, and they are offering a full refund to anybody that has to drop by an April cutoff date. It's April 2022, so it's a little far out from our trip date. There are also 3 options for insurance coverage. One of them offers a full refund up until 4 days before the flight. So that's something parents can opt into. All students are also covered under their parents' health insurance while we're in country, and the company is offering quarantine coverage if we have to delay our departure back to the United States, because if at that point we still have to do a test to come home, they cover that time that we have to stay in country.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Robinson.
Are there any COVID-related requirements for students or chaperones?
Right now, if it stays the way it is, everyone will need to be fully vaccinated. I believe Europe is on 2 doses right now. So that could go up to 3 at some point, I'm not sure. So there will be a necessity for students to prove their vaccination, and they will need to carry that proof with them in country to enter museums and so forth.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. Is there someone that would like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So Ms. Visnick is making a motion to approve the field trip as outlined in the packet that Ms. Lowe has presented to us, and that's seconded by Ms. Karen Robinson. Is there any further discussion? I'll just add that I'll go as a chaperone too. If you get all those students, like, please.
I'll reach out to all 3.
Yeah.
We all need to go recruit
I was going to say, I studied French in high school and German in college, so I'm a shoe-in, right? Okay. Well, with that, all those in favor of approving the field trip? 7-0. Okay.
Thank you all.
Danke and merci.
And Dr. Flaherty. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bon voyage. Okay, next. Go ahead.
Yep. So next, sort of on the theme of foreign countries and foreign languages, I'm just doing an enrollment report on Global Child. Global Child is a provider of foreign language instruction for students at our elementary schools and at the middle school. It is an after-school program that parents opt into. I just wanted to give you sort of, I each year customarily come back and share with you what those enrollments were. So there were 12 sections of classes that ran in the fall of 2021. There were 129 students total that participated in them. Enrollment is open for spring through January 20th. The information is available on the website, I believe, right, Mrs. Bergeron? We'll double check that with Mrs. Faulkner. But the flyers went out, and the flyers went out via students' backpack. So, and I believe Homeward Bound also probably, I think, has it on there too. So, questions? Yeah.
More of a comment. I'm super excited to see additional language offerings. I know it's not at all the schools, but that is encouraging after, I think, a few years on the committee wondering if that would be an option. It's
And I actually was looking at it too, and in some cases too, even additional languages are available if you wanted to do virtual too. So the flyer is very informative. So I would suggest anyone that's interested in learning more about it, to check that out.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Mayor Cahill.
Yeah, just to make sure I'm reading this right. The year before the pandemic's number is the green number next to that yellow line, and the red number is this year's number?
the green, hold on one second.
Do you have is yours color coded? Color glossy?
I must not have the right colors, but the, so the red numbers are the total numbers, yes, for, and the year before. Yes, we have increased enrollments.
Everything's increased, yeah. The
everything
red
has
number are
increased.
these year's
If that-
numbers,
Yes,
okay.
right. So you're correct. The red numbers are and they are increased from pre-pandemic numbers.
Oh, see, they're not all red. But the point is the ones on the ones on the line where it says compare with, those are the year before's numbers.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
All right. And so now some of the more common information that I've been bringing forward in terms of COVID. We are still dealing with COVID and the surge, as you all know. I have first some vaccination rates. These are as of January 6th off of the mass.gov site. This is citywide, but it reports the age ranges and the percentages of students. I would say that on January 7th, we held our vaccination clinic. So while we did do a lot of booster shots on January 7th, we did have some other families and students take advantage of the vaccination clinic. So these are the numbers as they stand right now. 5 to 11-year-olds, 61% have received at least one dose and 49% are fully vaccinated. 12 to 15-year-olds, 87% have received one dose and 79% are fully vaccinated. And our 16 to 19-year-olds, 59% have received one dose and 54% are fully vaccinated. We will have at our next meeting updates for the Beverly specific, and Mrs. Elder's on the phone with me, so please, Jody, join in at any time. The gathering of that information is sort of tedious. The nurses have to go into each platform and assimilate the information themselves. It's been a rather busy week in our health offices, so we decided that we could bring that information in the next couple of weeks. So that's the grade level specific information that we'll have for you then. This is our Covet Dashboard. It's posted on our website. This is, I will say, typically this is a twice weekly update. We had a snow day on Friday, so the Friday update, this is actually a week's worth of data because we were closed on Friday. So as you can see, much like you'll see when I show you the 7-day information that's shared with me by the Board of Health, the surge has certainly hit Beverly, and our numbers have risen quite a lot over the past. This is updated as of the 11th, which was yesterday. Again, the first column is the current active cases. That's a 7-day measure. And then our total cases since September 1st is 670. This information, again, is available, and we update it every Tuesday and Friday. This is the information that I get from the Department of Public, our local Board of Health. Again, you can see the rise in case numbers. It's following the same pattern as the rest of the country in terms of the Omicron and the impact that it's had with 200. So I think that when we hit 77.91, we all thought that was high, and here we are at 258.82. So that is the average daily incidence rate per 100,000. Again, I think like all data, when we look at it right now around percentages and incident rates and all of that, the impact that home testing has had too. So, it's likely that some of these numbers would be higher if we didn't have the number of home tests, because we are now accepting home tests in a lot of environments. So the good news is you're using the home tests, and if you identify yourself as positive, you're able to kind of act quickly. I don't know. I do think it kind of sends the data and a little bit, makes the data a little bit less or depressed as to what it might actually be.
Conversely, I'm wondering if the numbers also are not catching or not using as many surveillance testing. I know that the governor has discouraged people without symptoms and without a known exposure from sort of clogging up the lines with the surveillance testing, so that people that have known contacts or symptoms could get into the limited testing sites.
Yep.
So yeah, it's really going to be interesting to really ferret out what the real data looks like at this moment in time.
So, but we will continue to monitor and bring it forward to everyone as we go along. So, Again, this is another sort of in response, a lot of this is in response to questions, so I hopefully am answering some questions that some of you may have had or you may have heard from people. Our COVID dashboard, again, is updated twice weekly. At the beginning of the school year, we were sending out multiple notifications. We would send a notification to the whole team, whether they were or were not a close contact or where cases were seen. At this point in time, we were getting a tremendous amount of feedback that was very confusing to parents and families, that they were receiving daily letters, and it was really hard to tell what information was what. So at this point in time, right now, while we're in the surge, a principal or school nurse will be in every school and classroom that has a confirmed case, will notify those individuals that are identified as close contacts, so that we take away some of that confusion around the number of letters that are going home. Again, we've talked often about what a close contact is. We know there are exemptions to close contacts, and so we're going through that process for each case. To put it in perspective, there were, I think, 102 positive cases that were reported on the day we returned back from vacation. So close contact tracing and identifying and sharing information was the priority, making sure they were reaching out and talking to those people who did, report a case, making sure they understood what when they could return to school, and that sort of thing was the priority of the nursing staff at that time. I cannot say enough for our, I know I say it every time we meet, and Jody Elder is on the phone, on the call. I will tell you, the nursing staff in Beverly has been amazing. The work that they have been able to do, the calm presence that they have had for everyone that's been involved, the information that they are sharing on a daily basis and absorbing on a daily basis is amazing. So I really can't say enough for the work that's being done by our nursing staff. So, any questions on that before I go to the next one? So I also had questions we all had questions, and there was newspaper articles and news reports a lot about attendance, whether staff attendance. I think some of us were concerned as we were returning back from the holiday, whether or not we would have enough staff to safely open schools, how we would staff and manage the absences that we knew were coming. The leadership team met on the Sunday before we came back. We made sure that we had a staff reporting opportunity. A huge thank you to the City of Beverly. We distributed, in advance of the vacation, some rapid test kits to our staff members, so they were able to utilize them for their holiday, but also for their return. The Department of Ed joined in and also had test kits that were brought in. We had to put together a quick distribution center at the high school on the day before we returned, but we distributed more test kits so that we're pretty confident that every staff member had an opportunity to do an at-home rapid test before returning. I would say several members of our school community staff did identify that they were positive through that, so that was really helpful, and it avoided them coming into the building and further exposures for others. I think that was a really huge step in helping us address how we would return safely to school. So we did do that. I have here just sort of a listing of the attendance rates, so the number of staff each day that were absent, the percentage of that building that was. This is in the first week. The middle school and the high school had the highest numbers, but of course they have the largest staff. Our teachers, and I say this and I hope that everyone understands and appreciates what they're doing, have been unbelievably cooperative and flexible and helpful, and they've stepped up and answered the call if they've been asked to cover a classroom or do some of those things, so that our administrators have been able to make sure that all of our classrooms were staffed, that all of the class students were supervised and had a safe return. So I don't know, I know these are just sort of the general percentages, but it's kind of helpful to see across the board what it looks like. I think that Beverly fared average in comparison to the districts that are around us. Some districts had higher percentages of absences and some had lower, but we, I think we were right in the ballpark as to what we did. So this was week 1, and you can just take a look across. You can see that we were largely in the 10% range each day. And then this is this week. So we've had a great return. I think that it's the absences have not been as challenging this week as they have been in the past week. But our numbers are kind of moving into the single digits, which is a really nice opportunity. So these are just I just wanted to share with you just a general idea so you could have an idea of what that looks like. Again, many thanks to the teachers, the administrators. People have been working really hard. We had a contingency plan to move staff from building to building should we need to. We never needed to do that. We were always able to kind of within a building manage to staff the classrooms. So, any questions on the staff attendance?
Dr. Silva.
I just have a question about when students, this might be a question that might be better for later, and if it is, then you can answer it later. When students do test positive and they have to quarantine themselves at home, are they able to get into remote class, and how efficient is that? Is there any feedback from parents in terms of the students being able to transition into the class and not miss much class work?
So
I'm just curious about the feedback.
Yeah, that's a
on
great question. So at the beginning of the year, we worked with the teachers union. We do have a system set up. It was largely set up for people who had to quarantine for 7 to 10 days, which is a longer period with the change in the guidelines. Students, and by the time we're kind of catching up with them, most of them are ready to return the next day because most of the absences are 5 days or sometimes less, depending if there's a weekend involved. Teachers are the exam schedule and some of those things. And so Mrs. Taylor and her team and the teachers working together have put together a plan for exams, knowing that in the 3 weeks leading up to exams, there's been a very high percentage of absences. So those are the things. You lead me right into my next set of slides, although I'll stop if there's more staff questions before I go, because I have the student attendance rates for next.
I just wanted to thank the City of Beverly for how easy it was to get tests and all the opportunities for vaccinations. It's been really easy to be able to find out, and I think a lot of people really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Visnick.
I have a question. Do we have a threshold at which we would have enough staff out that we'd say it's not like physically viable for us to open our doors? Right, you have percentage up there on the chart, right? You had total numbers. Is there some number that we'd say we have too many teachers out, we can't open the doors?
So I haven't made an estimate of what that number would be. I think because we worked throughout leading up to the return in terms of knowing who was and wasn't going to be in school. I think we had contingency plans more to shift staff. So, for example, we have coaches at the elementary level who we would have moved up into the middle school or the high school to cover if they had a need. I would say I could make a guesstimate that at some point, if we were, I would say that on the Monday, maybe it was Tuesday. I'm going to move back for a minute. I think that one of the days we had the highest, the biggest challenge was
I think it's January 6th.
It was January 6th, right? And that was at 13%. That day, we all reported to the middle school ourselves, and we're there, and Mrs. Brown and I were managing the floors, and Mrs. Oliver was taking a look and moving people around. We had staff who had to cover other classrooms at different times. But that was I would say that was a challenge. So I would say that maybe 17 or 18% might be the number that I would be very, very concerned. But that was when we would have put in a contingency plan to bring other people in. So unless we had it in all of our buildings at one time, I don't know that I have a specific number, but we definitely were working really hard. We had a shared Google Sheet amongst all of the schools, so we were watching carefully. We knew which schools were maybe hit more hard in a couple of a day period. We knew when return dates were expected and when teachers were going to be coming back. So we were able to monitor it. So if there is a number of threshold, we didn't get that close to it that we would have considered canceling school. We had some other strategies that we would have put in place before then.
So we have a number though, right, that the DESE says for students, there's a student threshold, right? Some percentage of our students have to attend for it to count as a day of school in terms of our 180 days of schooling, yes or no?
There
Yeah.
is a percentage, I don't know what it is off the top.
Okay, so they don't give us a similar percentage for staff.
Well, I don't think every district would have a different staffing pattern. So whether we have more paras on staff that could cover or support staff that could fill in, I don't know that they would know by percentage. I think it would come down to, we want to make sure that we can safely make sure there's an adult and a classroom teacher in every classroom, so.
Right, so that
Yeah.
January 6th, back of the napkin math, that was 85 people were out that day. So we had 85 people juggling so that every classroom was covered.
We have some substitute teachers, some classrooms are co-taught, so we had the ability to utilize staff that day. But yeah, that probably was the day that was the most challenging, but not in every building either. So again, we had that contingency plan in.
Maybe we can segue now to the students, because the reports that I had were there was a few students less per classroom
A few.
as well.
Yeah.
A few is a nice way to put it.
Yes.
We can segue into that, and I will show you. Hold on. So here's the student, I'm going the wrong way. Here are the student attendance rates for the same days at each of the schools. If you look at the percentage rates, so the middle school and the high school were pretty solidly at least 200 students absent on each day, which runs in the 18 to 21%. So there were a number of people that were out and impacted. And so, again, that's a good point. You know, there were some classrooms that were smaller and could have been combined or something like that. And I don't believe that we were ever in danger of not being able to cover classrooms. It was really a matter of how can we do it with the least disruption.
Ms. Robinson?
Okay, I was just curious, so with so many students out, and I'm looking more at middle school and high school.
Well, the numbers are larger there because the population is larger too.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the workload and kids having to make up work. How's instruction moving along, and how much time are we giving students to make up work? Are teachers talking to one another?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we're all aware that this is a very challenging time, and that we know that we have a number of students, the adjustments that were made to the exams, and how we were going to manage the exam schedule, the adjustments to some of the, at the high school level, instructionally in each of the classrooms, teachers are modifying and adjusting what they're doing and how they're doing it, and tracking, how they're doing it. But I also want to say that one of the things that we've been working really hard on all year has been accelerating learning rather than so we're working within our classrooms to make sure that we're always using formatives and checking in with people and making sure that we know where they are and what they need to do and how they need to work it out. But in our elementary, our grade level teams are working together to think about how they can make sure that everything happens. I think in reality, we all know that this 3 to 4 week period is going to be one that we have to look at what our outcomes are a little differently than we may have perceived we would have looked at them in September. We may have to make adjustments to the plans and to the way that we're measuring what we're doing and how we're doing it. So in general, we have been doing that for 22 months. And we continue to do that. And this 1 4 week period is going to definitely be more impacted than we had perceived at the beginning of the year. But we're making adjustments as we go.
Yeah, I just wanted to, as an educator, I'm just seeing a lot of overwhelmed students coming back, and it's a tough time.
Yeah.
Dr. Silva?
So I have a question about whether or not something like this is possible. Is it possible for teachers to have materials for a given week of classwork sort of already assembled in a packet, so that if a student is absent, they have that packet, and if they're positive but not symptomatic, they can be working from home.
So we utilize Google Classroom and Moodle in either Google Classroom in the elementary, some Seesaw, some of these other ways, but the work is always available digitally at home for students. And so we have been doing exactly that. At the, when parents make requests to get the materials, we ask for 24 hours to gather them together because we don't know exactly which one. But in general, right now in their planning, I think teachers know that they're planning that way. And so they're making sure that those materials are available.
So, but why is there a 24-hour period if it's on Moodle and it's digital?
Well, it depends on the request and because who knows what's going on in a classroom at a particular time. So if someone's out, we have negotiated into the contract for teachers in terms of setting up streaming and providing makeup work. We did that at the beginning of the year through the negotiations that we did, because we know what it means. So if a student calls in sick, to be able to most of them have them at the ready, and I think that in good planning, we have it ready, but that's how we worked it out through our return to school contract with the teachers.
Did I see a hand over here? Or, okay, Ms. Bisnick.
I have a comment and a question. And my comment is that both my own son and I think every parent on the BHS PTSO meeting last night was elated at the conversation around the plan for the midterms. So that's just a comment, some feedback. It's, especially as we've talked so much about the mental health, to be able to say to children and their parents, we're trying to take some of that pressure off of you. I think that was, my son's face today was pretty happy when he delivered that information to me, which I hadn't had time to deliver to him after the meeting last night. But so that's my comment. My question has to do with these numbers versus the dashboard. So when we see that, 270 students are missing from Beverly High, but the dashboard only had 50 some, can you speak to that difference, to that delta in between those two numbers?
I can only
Or can our nurse person
we
on
can
the
only
call-
record on the dashboard what is reported to us. So if a parent reports it as a COVID-related absence, or if the Board of Health reports it to us as a COVID-related absence, it's included on the dashboard. This is who has not come to school that day. So whether it be that a parent has chosen, someone's not back yet, a student is quarantined, as opposed to, so if you are not vaccinated and you're a close contact and you're have been identified as such through the local Board of Health, you're required to quarantine, and unless you have an exemption, then you're out if that exposure took place outside. Some people are home because they think they've been exposed and they're being cautious. I don't really know. I do know that, and I only have this number, and Jody, you can help me with this, but I do believe that on Monday, January 3rd, I had specifically checked of the 255 students that were absent at the high school, how many of them reported being COVID related. And so that number of 102 sticks in my head as I think, as the number that was reported, that were confirmed by the nurses. So we because of the high volume of absences, we had to set up a separate absence reporting line and some absence reporting procedures, and we sent that out and we asked parents, when you call in and when you call the absence line, can you please leave the information as to whether it's COVID related or not, so that we could give them a follow-up call back to make sure they understood what their quarantine responsibilities were. So I don't have a specific answer except for that,
Okay, so but if
Can I say something actually?
Yes,
Dr.
please.
Trocheck, it's Jody Elder.
Yes.
Ms. Visnick, maybe if I could try to answer your question a little bit as well. I just want to make sure that there's a distinction between COVID-related absences and COVID-positive cases. We only report the COVID-positive cases on the dashboard. And COVID-related absences may be, you're waiting for the results of a PCR test. There's COVID in the home and you're being cautious and you don't want to send your student to school. There are many COVID-related reasons that a student may be absent from school, but the dashboard only reflects the COVID-positive cases.
Fantastic. And what about if our families used their wonderfully distributed by our city home tests? That does not show up on the dashboard, does it? So I call in, I say my kid did a home test.
I'm going to let Jody answer that one too.
So that's also a great question, Ms. Bisnick, and part of the reason why the workload volume in the health office is so high right now is because we are reporting those cases, and oftentimes the school nurse is the only person who or school administrator is the only person who has that information. So if someone calls in and says, you know, I tested my child with a rapid home antigen test and they tested positive on Saturday, you know, they're logged in on our dashboard. And this relies, you know, it relies on parents calling and giving us accurate information and in a timely manner, but we are trying as best we can to capture those home tests.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure.
I just want to add anecdotally, some parents were having a difficult time locating the confirming PCR tests and chose that to just make sure that it wasn't a false negative on some of the rapid tests. I heard that from some parents. Also, I think COVID impacted a lot of the travel plans for some of our families who had intended to be back for the January 3rd start of school, but were impacted by major shifts in the airlines and different travel plans. I wanted to circle back. Dr. Silva had asked a question, and I wanted to reflect on some anecdotes I'd received from some parents, as well as my own observation that the teachers are doing a fantastic job of compiling the week's work and keeping a rolling track. One class in particular for one of my children I looked at, and it's just like an ongoing Google Doc pretty much from the beginning of trimester 2. They started fresh. And every day, the current day is at the top, but students have the opportunity with hyperlinks to go back through all of the materials to make sure they're caught up. And there's a summary sort of expectation. So I think for the teachers themselves to make sure that their classes can continue if they have an absence or if the students are absent, I think there's been a really high level of detail put into that for most of our students so that they can feel like they're not completely missing out. And the anecdote from one of my friends with a 5th grader is loves having the responsibility of holding the iPad so his friend can see what's going on and speak up if he has a question. And one of the stories was that sometimes the kid on the iPad really wants to participate and has to like really scream so everyone can hear him in the classroom, because it is sort of a technology challenge that we have. We're not set up as TV studios in each of our classrooms or anything like that, and kids at home are just using their iPads, but it's working, and kids are participating and feeling like they're not missing out too much. So I appreciate those anecdotes when I hear them. So
Thank you. So there's just, I have this is this week's, and again, I think that we're holding steady in the same rates of absences. I don't think that, I think we're still, as the data showed on the 7-day incidence rate, we're still in the surge. We still have students that are testing regularly. I think, you know, I'm not sure how people are escaping it. It seems like it's everywhere, but everyone is doing their best at this point in time to do what we can. And again, I appreciate the conversation around the work. I think one of the things that we've been discussing with the leadership team and they with their teachers is, while we are obviously a data-driven district and we really have high expectations around academics, that at this point in time, we all know that we're in a crisis for the health and the physical health and the COVID surge. And so we're really working on making sure that we are meeting the needs of all of the kids that are sitting in front of us and thinking about the needs of the kids that are sitting at home. So we're working really hard on that. All right. So just to kind of get to mitigation strategies, we had a lot of questions around what are we doing? Have we made changes since we came back in light of the surge? Have we made adjustments to what we're doing? I'm going to talk a little bit about masking. I'm going to talk a little bit more about our testing programs. I'm going to talk about our lunch procedures, as well as cleaning, because I think it's important. I don't know, I just bumped into Distech as they were spraying around here. So taking a look at what are we doing for cleaning and how are we making sure we're doing everything that we can. Again, the best strategy continues to be vaccinations and boosters, and I'll talk a little bit about our vaccination clinics that we are going to be offering. So first of all, around the mask mandate, Commissioner Riley announced on Monday that the mask mandate in schools is extended until at least February 28th. Again, that he did not change the essence of the mandate, but extended the date from January 15th to February 28th. So it will still require, even at that point in time, if Beverly, even if we were at the thresholds for lifting it, that the committee would have to make a decision as to how to do that. But at least for now, that decision isn't going to fall on anyone until the 28th, because it's going to remain in place until the 28th. I've had some questions around masks and what kinds of masks and how are we providing masks. I don't know how many of you are aware the Department of Ed had attempted to provide all of the teaching staff with the KN95s. They did do so. I'm not sure that all of the masks have met the requirements. There was some controversy around that. However, we do provide the masks that we were given by DESE to teachers. So each teacher each week receives 5 new masks that they're able to wear if they choose. We also have, but parents are asked to provide masks to their students, and I've had some questions around would we be considering providing a different kind of mask to students as well. Currently, we do ask that parents provide their students with masks, but we also have, we provide pediatric and or adult surgical grade 3-ply masks to students and staff who do not have one when they enter our building. So I double checked with Mike Collins to find out we work with the city in terms of utilizing together the collaboration around providing the masks for us. There are 109,000 adult masks on hand, so I don't think we're going to run out too soon on those. And we also have 6,000 pediatric masks on hand. We do, although if you watched a day in the middle school, you might wonder if the 109,000 adult masks will last us through the next couple of weeks, because they're going through them quite quickly. However, we have them on hand, we have them available, and again, any parents can always supply their own masks. We ask that they send their child to school with masks, so whatever type of masks they use, that would be on them. Questions?
Madam President? Thanks. Dr. Trochik, just in practice, and maybe Ms. Elder can help, I don't know. In practice, what age kid generally graduates from a pediatric to an adult mask? In other words, what number of our students, if we were supplying and as supplying, would really need a pediatric?
Jody, do you want to speak to that?
Sure thing. My sense is it's mostly the elementary schools, the grade 4 and below. Some of the 5th graders at the middle school, I think, can have a good fit with the pediatric mask, but I do know that they're small for a lot of the students. Most, I would say, 90% of the middle school kids use the adult masks.
Thanks, Mrs. Elder.
Sure thing.
All right. There have been some questions, a lot of questions around distancing and lunch. We know that prior to the holiday break, the weather was cooperative and we were able to eat outside. Snacks were outside, lots of recess outside. The weather has certainly not been cooperative with us in the last few days. However, in that return to school meeting that we had with leadership, we had a lot of discussions around reverting back to some of our more structured and stringent adherence to distancing. I think in the October, November, we were a little more flexible around around seating in the classrooms and small group work. The elementary principals in the elementary schools have reverted a little bit more back to the more structured seating within the classroom. The lunches, we have been making sure that we're distancing further. Some schools reverted back to some of their practices from fall just to make sure there was 6-foot distancing between kids when they're taking their masks off at lunch. At the middle school, I know the middle school returned to a limited number of students at each table and stretching out the lunches that way. At the high school, we returned, and I'm going to say to the recommended 4 students per table, because I've been at the high school, and we make the recommendation and they somehow gravitate to have 12 kids at a table before you've turned around. We continue to remind everyone that that's the proper distancing, and that really the most dangerous time is when your mask is off. I will say in all schools at all levels, students wear their masks until they're in and seated, and if they get up from the table to go somewhere, they put their masks back on again. So they're only taking the masks off when they are at the table. We hope for some weather that allows us to get outside for our snacks, particularly. It's very helpful, and we also hope for weather that allows us to spend our recesses outside, because we know that that little bit of fresh air is really helpful at this time. So we're following the distancing guidelines. We actually exceed the guidelines 98% of the time in all of our setups. So that's sort of where we are with lunch and distancing. And again, back to vaccination clinics, we are offering we have two more that are confirmed right now, vaccination clinic offerings. I will say on Friday the 7th, it was a snow day. We chose not to cancel the vaccine clinic. I'm really glad that we didn't. We did have a high number of cancellations. I put out a quick call to everyone that said, we'll take some walk-ins, and within 45 minutes, all of the opportunities were taken up that had been canceled. So we ended up able to provide vaccines to around 200, either first vaccines or boosters, to around 200 students on that day, which I was very grateful for. We have our Vaccinate RX clinic on the 21st from 4 to 7. They're offering vaccines for ages 5 to 18 and boosters for 12 and up. Again, we would, it's a pre-registration. There are no walk-ins available. This is a smaller clinic. It's sort of a one-woman show, so the number of spaces that are available on that one is not quite as high. However, we will be having Cataldo Ambulance back on Friday the 28th. I know we had some discussion in a previous meeting about would we be doing boosters at that. Given that we gave a lot of boosters on the first one, we will be opening up some slots. We're working with Cataldo to get us a link for opening up some slots for boosters at that one as well. So those are the opportunities that are coming up for vaccine clinics. Just as a reminder, the clinics are held at the Beverly Middle School. There was some confusion. You do enter through the large parking lot entrance on the auditorium side, gymnasium side of the building. Parents are required to accompany anyone under the age of 11. Parental consent is required when registering, and that's available through that registration process. Again, we'll follow up with the links, and if you have any questions around vaccination clinics, you can reach out to our email. And so then the final area that I had quite a few questions about was our testing programs. I know that you're familiar that we've been doing the Test and Stay program since the beginning of the school year. Test and Stay is an opportunity for asymptomatic individuals, if they're identified as close contacts and not exempt, to take an individual rapid antigen test. And if they test negative at the beginning of the school day, they can remain in school for that day. We offer symptomatic testing, and that's when individuals present symptoms at school. Again, I please ask if your child is exhibiting symptoms, COVID-like symptoms, that you keep them home. However, sometimes during the day, someone might develop some symptoms. And so we have, since September, administered over 1,500 tests in our schools to students. Of those 1,500, 32 positives have been identified. And then of that 32, 14 of them have been since January 1st. So we really believe, A, that our mitigation strategies in our schools have been working and that they've been helpful. I don't know that we knew Omicron was coming and that we were going to be up against quite what we're up against now. However, these two programs we have been utilizing, and they have been working well for us so far. I've had a number of questions about pool testing. Pool testing is a mitigation strategy that other districts, some districts, are using. For us in Beverly, we utilized it last year at the middle and high school. For us, we found it less effective. And that's largely a couple of reasons. One, it relies heavily on voluntary participation. So we were running pool testing, we were offering it to the entire school community, and we had a very low level of participation at the time. And in addition to that, the yield from the results was minimal for us in the way that it was run out. We spent some time talking about, is this something that we should re-investigate? Should we rethink about our strategy? Is this something we want to implement? We are eligible. We had registered and done all of the training and got the information that we needed. However, when we reviewed it, in the setting of this recent surge, we've had the turnaround time for pool testing has been exceeding 30 hours. So CIC Health runs the pool testing program. And so by the time you get the pool in, you hear back that you have a positive pool, you have to, that's 30 hours. Then you have to bring the members of the pool in and retest them. And then, so it's a very poor turnaround in terms of finding out information about who's positive and who's not. In addition, so then they did offer a double swab program, so you could take both swabs the first time through. However, the turnaround on the swabs is over 40 hours. So again, we're, 3 days in, 5-day quarantine period. Often by the time we find out that someone's positive, they've been in school for 3 of the 5 days that they were supposed to quarantine. So we made the decision that that implementing the pool testing wasn't going to really yield, and we have other really strong programs that are helping us. Finally, the other thing too is because of so there was a run when every a district would submit pools of 5 and 10, and then every single pool was positive, because with the odds are in those numbers that you're going to have more positives. And so now they're recommending pools of 3 or less, which is kind of down to individual pools. But now the turnaround time for those, that's what's causing the turnaround time to be much longer, because they're having to do so much of that. So we're going to continue to partner with the city, with the who has been really great in providing the rapid antigen tests to the community, opportunities for PCR testing on Wednesday and Sunday. The mayor has, the city has really come forward and offered those opportunities for testing. And we just think right now that's the best strategy for us going forward. So I appreciate all the questions that we got about it, and I hope that everybody understands our explanation, that it's just a decision that we've made for that.
Okay, Mayor Cahill.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good time if I could just share a couple things on test availability. So we have been, last week and this week, we've done Wednesday and Sunday PCR free testing opportunities at the high school. And we also tomorrow are doing another giveaway of the rapid antigen test kits. Tomorrow, Thursday, it'll be 1 through 6 p.m. at Lynch Park as a drive-through. 1 kit per person, 2 kits per household. There are 2 tests in each kit, and you all know that. And so that's that for tomorrow. On the PCR testing, I don't know how long we'll keep doing it. I'll tell you, a week ago today, we tested over 650 people. Sunday, we tested 425, and today, they just finished at 8, we tested 487. So there's still a demand. The thing, we're only offering to test Beverly residents and Beverly employees, and the reason for that is on the PCR testing up through last December 31st, it was all FEMA reimbursable, but that expired. So right now, we're needing to pay for it ourselves. So we of necessity are limiting it in that way. And we're tracking both the case counts on the Omicron variant and the demand for tests. We'll probably offer at least one date next week, which we'll announce as soon as we can. So thanks.
Thank you. Do other members have any comments or questions? Ms. Coelho.
I have 2 things for Dr. Churchak, but 1 thing for Mayor Cahill.
Microphone.
Sorry. I have 2 things for Dr. Churchak, but 1 thing for Mayor Cahill. There are a few families that have larger quantities in them, and we're wondering if they did have proof when they came through, would they be able to get 3 kits instead of 2, since they have 6 family members? One being at the elementary school, they have 4 children as well.
So we had a lot of conversations about that with 42,000 residents, somewhere just shy of 18,000 households, and a limited supply, and that's where we landed on the 2 kits per household. If there's something going on in a household, if they get some positives and they reach out, we'll try to get them some additional kits. But I don't think as a rule we can go with 1 kit per household member, which is one way of looking at it, or 1 test per household member. We just don't have enough for that.
Okay. And then Dr. Trocheck, I know that it was saying that the mask mandate is considered for February 28th, but February vacation is a week later this year than it normally is, so the kids are coming back on the 28th from vacation, so that's something that we should consider.
So again, just remember, the mask mandate is when the commissioner says that the mandate from the commissioner is lifted, but the committee has said that masks are required in schools, so that will be a school committee, that would just give the school committee the authority to lift it if they wanted or not lift it. That's a conversation that that we'll have as a committee, whether or not, and again, it's only lifted if you're at the 80% threshold, and so I'm not sure. I know we were doing much better, and we'll know better on the 26th at our next meeting when I give the grade level data as to what percentages we're at. But you know, I don't anticipate. I don't know whether we would meet that 80% threshold even on the 28th of February. But that would be a committee. We would not make any changes to our mask policy without the committee meeting and talking about it.
Okay. And then the F&F side of me is gonna come out and ask, with all the money that we're spending on masks for like the middle school and high school kids, is there consideration about maybe getting permanent ones made that they can each have two, one to wash, one to wear, one to wash, one to wear, and maybe it wouldn't, you know, maybe be more cost effective?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, I want to share the masks that we have are paid for through CARES, through the city. So the city has paid for the majority of the masks that we're using in our schools. I think my concern would be that the two masks would last maybe not 2 days. I mean, there are some students that are getting a mask when they get on the bus, and by the time they get off the bus and walk into the school, they're getting a second mask, and by the time they make it up to their homeroom, they're getting a third mask. So I'm not sure. I do know that at some level, some schools have used it, sort of this kind of some swag out there that has the school name on it, and they've done some of that. But I think right now, the surgical masks, the disposable masks are the best. And then it also is, the disposable masks ensure that when we give someone a mask, it's a clean new mask every day, so that's kind of a helpful thing too. But it's definitely something to consider.
Dr. Silva.
I have a question. It might be for the mayor. Does the city practice any type of testing with the wastewater out of the buildings?
No, we're not doing it. There are a number of communities that have. I know MWRA has been doing it. Salem was doing it earlier on. But no, we're not participating in any wastewater testing.
Ms. Bisnick.
I am trying to figure out if we, let me reiterate something I said earlier. I love that we're trying to take some pressure off the students, but I mentioned at previous meetings that I think we need to try to take care of our staff. And when you said how much the staff jumped and juggled to take care of, you know, the gaps of not having so many staff members out, it just makes me think about that again. And it makes me wonder, Mr. Manzo brought this up at the last F&F meeting. What if we what if we bumped up our sub pay temporarily to try to attract more subs? To try to get more subs into our district to relieve some of the pressure on the teachers being asked to cover extra or to, you know, take away from whatever they were doing, or taking our paras out of a classroom to cover another classroom. Is that something that we can consider? I think that at the last F&F meeting, we looked at the sub line, looked pretty well populated for this point in time in the year. So I just want to keep coming back to that. In your speech on Inauguration Day, you said our city employee health, mental health is like the #1 consideration. And I'm looking, what are we doing for our staff? What are we doing today? And what are we going to do? And could we do something like try to get more subs in, or try to go get, you know, MSW candidates from any given one of the local colleges, or MED candidates, or even undergrad ed, right? Get people in here to help relieve some of that pressure.
Yeah, so those are all great suggestions. We're looking into them. In terms of raising the sub pay, I'm not sure. I can't say that would or wouldn't. I will tell you though, and just to be clear, the the contract and our arrangement with teachers. So if teachers cover classrooms on what would be their prep or something, they're compensated for that. So that is a positive thing, where we are compensating teachers if they are covering, whether they cover for a teacher or a para role or something like that during their prep time. Paras are compensated when they cover classrooms, so there's a compensation in place for paras when they do substitute. I have to say, I feel like there's one thing that's been really, it's not, I don't know that if it's a silver lining or a positive, but there has been a really great collegial and collaborative spirit among the teachers, like kind of, we are all in this and we're going to work together and we're going to make this work. And they have done it because they want to, and because they, I think that there's a piece of this that has brought us together. I think in crisis, we always see that happen, I think, a little bit. I don't know. We welcome any MSW, MED, and student teacher, any of those that can. We welcome anyone to become a sub in our classrooms. I know that Mrs. Brown has advertised substitutes. We're looking anywhere. We've kind of put it in publications. I think principals actually in our leadership meeting talked a little bit about more putting it in newsletters and letting everyone know that we are looking for and happy to have more substitute teachers in our classrooms. But I have to say, any and all of those suggestions are good as we think about how we can do that. We have unfilled para positions. We're looking for paraprofessionals. So right now, the labor shortage is real for everyone, and education isn't really, it affects us as it has affected a lot of other industries. So, but
Right, I follow it. I think that we are in an incredibly good financial fiscal position, thanks to years of being responsible. I'll use that word. And so I think that, I don't know how to make it happen. Maybe it's me making a motion, but I think that we owe it to our students and our staff to try something. And so if we have money and we can say we're going to temporarily, just like we temporarily set aside part of DK, we can temporarily raise our sub rate and or our para rate, to say we need to attract more people. We have to get more people in here. And if somebody has a choice of coming here or coming to the next town over, and our rate is that much higher, then maybe they're going to choose us. Now, granted, then maybe the next town over, their school committee meeting next week, they'll raise their rate too, and it won't, be a benefit at that point in time. But I think we have to try something.
Mayor Cahill.
To that point, I guess, kind of the concept that Mrs. Visnick's expressing, we had over 80 staff out on that peak day last week, right? How many subs do we have who are regulars? They kind of on speed dial district wide. I know
I think about
it goes
20,
school by school.
I would say. I would say between 20 and 24 that are regularly called. That doesn't mean that they're always available, that are, and our regular subs are amazing, and
Sure.
they've been coming in and doing a good job. I would say that, the pool of subs, I'm open to any of your suggestions around how to increase the pool of sub. I'm not sure how or what difference it would make. I don't know about going into competition around other people. Our rate is already competitive in terms of sub pay, but
Just, remind me, what is our rate for a teacher spot subbing for a class? Or
so the
depends on what
curriculum
level?
rate, we're giving them $35 an hour curriculum rate.
And do we have an idea of how much higher that is now than it was in a
Well, we
in a normal
don't
year?
typically, so we haven't had a practice of teachers covering subs. So in some districts, you have sub lists and they do that, and it's a regular practice. This is something that we've really only invoked in the past week and a half. It's not something that we regularly do, and yet, the teachers, that is one thing. And again, I mean, it really was, we really are, I don't want to say that it's rosy, but we've worked really hard and we're doing a really good job right now. So,
I don't mean to discount that, and I do appreciate the fact that they get paid. It's just unsustainable, right?
Let's hope that this isn't a sustained absentee rate either, right? Like, that's a very high absentee rate, so we would hope that's not a sustained absentee rate too.
Mayor Cahill.
So we're in this surge with Omicron, and I don't want to predict what's going to happen or where it peaks, but except that the experience in a couple of places I've had it earlier is that it drops off drastically after the peak in terms of new cases. If we have roughly 25 subs who we regularly ask, who regularly sub in Beverly schools, and we've got those kind of days with 60, 50, 60, 70, I mean, I don't know that we can do anything to fill that gap in a quick fashion. And so I guess the question is, how much longer do we have to be concerned that those kind of numbers may happen? It may just be another couple of weeks. I think we all have a concern that one, our staff, I think be able to hang on through those weeks and on into February vacation, and two, trying to deliver the best quality we can possibly deliver when there's not the continuity we're used to, right? So I don't know. I mean, we're in a tough spot, and as we're talking about, I want to make sure to say thank you, like others have, to our leadership, school leadership, and every single person working in our school. So thanks for what everybody's working to get us through.
Ms. Visnick.
On average, let's not talk about the last 2 week spike or however many weeks you want to go back. On average, how many subs are we short? And that's not to say how many classrooms go uncovered, because we have this ability to encourage other people and to juggle, blah, blah, blah. It would be like, we have 20 to 25 on our regular list, and on average, we need to call 16 of them and do 16 of them answer, right? So there's several pieces of that, several variables that I'm asking for, right? What is the number we usually have that we need to fill? And of our list of 20 to 25, does number X get filled by them, or do we have to ask our staff, is it some other number Y that needs to be filled by our staff juggling and us paying somebody to work during what should be their break time?
So as I said, there really was no practice of teachers working during their break time before. So that's something that I would say didn't happen, and we don't normally have teachers covering for other teachers during the time. So of the number of absences that we have, I would say, and I'm going to just off the top of my head, because I haven't pulled those numbers together, I would say that we probably have average around 40 to 45 absences across the district. But those would be some paras, some teachers, some, in various roles, right? So I do not have that broken down by classroom teachers.
That's fine.
And, others are support teachers or whatever. And I would say of the pool, of our 20 pool, they're pretty active. So I don't think that, we say that there's 20 to 25 because they're active and we call them in and they come in when we call them. So on any given day, and I would say that on any given day we have no COVID, none of this. We probably have maybe 10 to 12 paras that we are either assigning to do some coverage at some point in time during the day. It varies at the high school. Remember, the high school has 84-minute blocks and only 4 classes in a day. And so that, the way that they utilize their sub coverage, a sub can cover for more than one teacher during the course of a day. So, but I guess if that's the best estimate that I can give you, probably 10 to 12 opportunities that we have to find alternate coverage. Would you say that's a fair? Yeah, relatively.
So I just think that if we have 10 to 12 every doodah day, even not in a surge, that, you know, we owe it, because it's what is best for students. And what's best for students is for them to have coverage and to have continuity, as you just said. And so we should be figuring out how to get our list from 20, an average of 20, up to 30 or even 40. If our average is 40, then we need 40 people on that list. And if this
That would be
group
nice.
needs to talk about paying more money to make that happen, then we need to talk about that. And I don't mean to keep looking at you, Dr. Trocheck, because you don't take that vote. So I guess I'm trying to look at,
Well, I guess I would only say that I did come forward and we did raise the pay. So we went from $80 to $95 a day in the last school year. Last school year, I came forward, I said, we're trying to increase our sub pool. We made an adjustment. We did attract some new subs, and that, you know, we have done that in the past. Again, there is a critical substitute shortage everywhere right now, but.
I saw Mayor Cahill's hand, but we'll go with Dr. McKenzie first, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Just
Conversation. I feel like as a former administrator, we had teachers covering every day for 4 years. So that was actually quite normal in my high school. So I'm actually quite pleased to know that teachers do not do that on a regular basis. I think it depends on the culture of the school and the location and the resources. So it sounds like we're doing pretty well with that. I also think that I'm not so sure that it's about the pay at this point in terms of recruiting new people. There are people who are frankly just afraid to be in schools with lots of children. So I'm wondering if there is maybe more concern at the younger grades where children are less likely to be vaccinated, if that's, you know, probably one of the concerns that subs would have. But I feel like in general, I'm hearing that the concern is that it's harder to attract individuals because it's about going into school buildings and not so much that they even know what the pay is, but they just, like, that just seems to be a general concern, and I don't know if you're hearing that.
So I would say in general, we have more subs that are. I think in general, we have more subs that are willing to work at the elementary level than are willing to work at the middle or high school level. In the middle school just seems to be a frightening place for some people. So, you know, we have we really do have our elementaries. It's, you know, we may have one or two paras need to cover during a day. And we have had times, I think prior to our, the real push that we went, we really made a push in I think it was just the fall. It was just prior to COVID, I think, to increase our staffing numbers for substitutes. And we do find people that are willing to go in the elementaries, not as many that are willing to go into the middle school. So that's a bigger challenge for us. And again, you know, I think we would love to not have to utilize paras as subs, because if they're working as a sub, they're not providing the support services that we wanted them to provide in the first place. So, you know, we're always looking to increase our sub pool. It's been a focus for us for a while. And I do think, I mean, I'm not sure if I were to poll the other districts what their sub pools look like and how many outside subs they have available to work in their districts. But, you know, I think we're grateful for the subs that we have that come in on a regular basis, and they do a great job. A number of them are retired teachers, and so we find that that's a great place for us to find substitutes sometimes. And again, perhaps they have some intimidation about coming into the buildings given COVID and, you know, some of those things right now, so.
I was just going to add a parting point, which you just did. So my former role, I worked with retired teachers all the time, and as soon as COVID started, that really greatly impacted their comfort level coming into the building, but also some, you know, depending on the district was also concerned about having those considered the most vulnerable coming into the building. So I do think part of it is less about compensation and who the pool typically looks like. And if you're talking about retired teachers and seniors, they're just less likely to want to be in this environment. And so to Ms. Wisnick's earlier point, I don't know how we could be attractive to, you know, graduate students and others, but I do think we have to be mindful that it's not just compensation, that there's a lot of concern throughout about exposure and
will-
generally speaking, the population we're talking about that we recruit for this
I will
work.
say that it's January and we have some college students home, and some of our own Beverly graduates that are home on break have, been subbing for us. So that's been a help. I've noticed, it's funny when I see the sub lists and I start to see all of my old students and I'm wondering how can they possibly be subbing? And so they're home on break. If you're a junior or a senior and you're home on break, we've been able to, utilize them as substitutes in our classrooms sometimes. Honestly, we've been working in the most dire conditions to increase staffing of paraprofessionals. We've really expanded the pool that we're looking for and interviewing and attracting. I think we're doing a really good job of bringing back and opening up the jobs and bringing some people in. It's just nobody predicted. Who could have predicted that we would be in this position and what that would look like? So,
Thank you. I saw the mayor's hand and then Dr. Silva.
Yes, thanks, Madam President. So every time somebody forgets to put on their microphone when they speak and someone helpfully says, Mike, I jump a little bit. And Dr. Trochik, I'm not sure that your colleagues at this point in time would be that forthcoming with how many subs they have or who they are. Everybody might be a little cagey and protective. I think I also question, the impact of. I mean, we've raised our rate. It seems like a good rate. I guess it's always relative to what's going on in nearby districts in terms of the rate. And again, I'm really hopeful we're going to be on the other side of the surge before too much longer. In terms of looking for ways to build our pool of subs kind of moving forward and for the kind of in an ongoing fashion and for the longer haul. Mrs. Visnick had some great ideas. I think, I know you've been brainstorming it and I know you do. Maybe we all just kind of feel free to send ideas your way.
Please do. And CC Erin Brown and
That's right. And maybe we send it to her and CC you.
It's interesting. We were in a cabinet meeting this morning and we were talking about hiring and we were talking about what some of the strategies that we had put into our district improvement plan and how are we doing on some of those. And, we continue to be talking and entertaining those every day. And so, I welcome all suggestions and ideas. I will say we did utilize a number of our fellows and a number of our student teachers where they're allowed. Sometimes the higher ed doesn't allow them to take to serve as substitutes and when they're either in their practicum or some of those things. But we work very closely. Endicott was very helpful to us last year when we were trying to build our RLA Academy and some of those, and we were able to utilize some of those resources. Salem State, I know we're working with Salem State on some of those as well. So,
So I'd just wrap by encouraging us all to help you work at it, because we also don't want to ever be in a place of just looking for the warm body, right? Mm-hmm. We want people who know how to manage a classroom or develop that skill while they're with us and bring an ability to work well with our students and subject matter knowledge wherever possible. So I think anything we can do in an ongoing fashion to strengthen our sub pool, I think that's a beneficial for all of us.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill. Dr. Silva.
I was just actually going to iterate what Mayor Cahill just said about making sure that if we are going to bring in substitutes, that we bring in the right culture, the right talent, and not just fill in a warm body in the classroom. Unfortunately, as Mr. Cahill, Mayor Cahill indicated, we are on the tail end of this, and hopefully it will be a rapid decline, and we'll find ourselves in not needing to address this, but also the substitute pool. I know it was brought up as something that's important to maintain, but hopefully we won't have to address it.
Thank you.
That's it. That's all I have.
Okay, why don't we move along? Our agenda item number 9 is our committee reports, and we'll start with the Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities. Ms. Visnick, please.
The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities Mayor Cahill, I thought you were going to say every time somebody has to turn on their mic, we should have to like put $1 in a kitty or something. And so I double checked so I wouldn't have to pay the kitty. The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities last met on December 15th, and we talked about the FY23 budget calendar. And in particular, May 11th is set for our public hearing on the budget. We talked about ESSER funds, ESSER 1, 2, and 3, and the timelines for those. The committee brings forward 3 things for a vote this evening. First, we bring forward a gifts to schools. The Standing Committee recommends that approval of the attached November 2021 gifts to schools totaling $2,666.94.
I will make a motion to receive with gratitude $2,666.94 for gifts to schools in November.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. McKenzie. Are there any questions, comments? All those in favor? I report 7-0.
Thank you. The Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities also recommends the approval of transfer number J as in Jack, E as in Edward, 243.
I can make a motion that we accept the journal entry numbered 243, a transfer that is provided in your packet. Do I have a second to accept the transfer?
A second.
Thank you. Ms. Coelho? Any questions? All those in favor? I record 7-0.
Finally, the Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities recommends approval of the grant that's in your packet, federal grant P as in Peter, EBT, in the amount of $4,912. This is from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. It's reimbursement funds for school districts, costs related to supporting the administration of pandemic. These funds were made available through the FY21 Omnibus and COVID Release Response Act and appropriated to the United States Department of Agriculture. School district allocations have been calculated using a predetermined USDA formula based on specific rates per school based on the number of students identified as eligible for pandemic EBTs.
I'll make a motion that we accept $4,912 from the federal grant for PEBT.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Coelho. Are there any further questions? All those in favor? I record 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
And finally, the Standing Committee on Finance and Facilities is scheduled to next meet 2 weeks from today, January 26th, right here at 6:30 in the evening.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fisnick. Next, it would be my pleasure to ask Ms. Karen Robinson to give her first report out as the chair of our Curriculum Instruction and Student Life.
Thank you. So our first meeting of 2022 was just a couple hours ago. And so after a brief introduction of Dr. Silva and myself as school committee reps to Curriculum Instruction and Student Life, we heard from our Beverly High School and Beverly Middle School student reps who gave us some great updates on what's been going on. Bethany Splansky gave us an overview of the kindergarten registration process. And just one important date to keep in mind is January 31st. Parents should make sure their children are signed up in order to ensure they get their home school. Dr. Flaherty then gave us an overview of time on learning, showing us that there's some flexibility in our schedules at the elementary school and elementary and middle schools, but it's very tight, the schedule at the high school. Beverly Middle School principal Lisa Oliver shared all the great athletic, extracurricular, and learning opportunities available at BMS after school. And then finally, Dr. Flaherty gave us an overview of CISL draft topics for February through June. And our next meeting will be on February 9th, 6:30.
Sure. Ms. Visnick has a question.
I appreciated today's meeting. I wondered, and this question is probably for Dr. Flaherty, when you presented the time on learning, you said eating cannot count as time on learning, but I thought that about a year or two ago, eating in the mornings, getting your lunch and then sitting in like morning meeting was considered time on learning. I thought that was a change brought through by the Department of Ed.
I think you're referring to the pilot that we did at Centerville where they had breakfast in the classroom. And so, yes, that's different than breakfast, breakfast, the time from 7:35 to 7:50 when you eat it in the cafeteria.
Okay.
But that grab and go kind of a breakfast, that sort of breakfast would be allowed, that would count because they would be in the classroom, the teacher would be teaching, but they would just be eating.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. And then I wonder if moving forward, there could be some amount of a report out that all the extracurricular activities at the middle school, kind of like what days and times the things happen versus here's what there is, almost as an advertising kind of capability. If there was a big chart somewhere that said, this works on this day, and how many students are participating.
Yeah, the number of students that could definitely be helpful. We do Homeward Bound that comes out every day to every parent of middle school. So they've really done a nice job showcasing all the different activities that are going on in a really it's aesthetically pleasing. The whole setup, it looks amazing compared to in years past. So that has been helpful. But the number of students, I think that would be a good idea to see how many kids are participating.
Thank you. In terms of the negotiating subcommittee, we have not met since my last report out to the regular school committee. And for policy review subcommittee, I will soon find time on Dr. McKenzie's calendar to do a handover. I would like to report out that the subcommittee, as of last term, did meet, squeaked it in on December 27th, Monday, December 27th. We held a 2-hour remote meeting where we took a lot of action items for how we could transition it to the new term. And I have all of these action items to write up for Dr. McKenzie, and we will meet soon to move that work forward so that we don't lose too much more time and end up with that huge project that we had last time. So, yes,
Thank you.
We will start parsing this out, and many hands make light work. So, that's all I have to report, and I don't think you could plan until we've had that meeting. So I thought I would just report out for you this time around. We've reached the point in our meeting where we will hear communications from school committee members. Ms. Visnick.
I want to jump up and down about last night's high school PTSO meeting, and in particular, the upcoming event with the Chamber of Commerce on networking for juniors and seniors, and what a fantastic community event that is. It's really cool too because it was started by some DECA students, and students are keeping it going and working with the different community organizations, and there's just a lot of buzz around it. And I think, it's one of those things, just like having all the students here tonight to celebrate great things. Our DECA students did fantastic in the States, just a weekend ago. And DECA is something that I don't think gets nearly enough attention, and we could, ring some bells and whistles more often about that. So it's a fantastic program, and the event coming up looks to be also a fantastic networking event. So if you have a junior or a senior and you don't know about it yet, you can hit the high school PTSO communication links. They're pushing it pretty hard.
Thanks. Any other members? Dr. Silva?
I'd just like to thank Dr. Charachek for bringing up the comments on the pooled testing. I did forward her some information from a Ward 4 resident that had emailed me, and I just communicated that to her, so thank you. I'd also like to update the committee to let them know that the wall ball for lacrosse is scheduled tentatively to be installed next week, provided that the weather is okay. So you'll see that structure appear at the high school. So thank you all for helping work out those details, and looking forward to having that up for the lacrosse team and other sports athletics.
Ms. Robinson.
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate what Ms. Visnick said about the DECA event that's taking place at Danversport. I actually had the opportunity to attend that 2 years ago, and I just wanted to make sure all the seniors know that that's a great place to look for their REACH internship. So it's, yeah.
Mayor Cahill.
Thanks, Madam President. Quick update on the multi-site solar project that we've talked about many times, and includes solar parking lot canopies at the high school and here at the middle school, replacement of the ground mount on the hill at the high school, and a rooftop array here at the middle school. We were trying to do this last year, the year before. It's supposed to be all built this year, 2022, after working for many, many, many months with National Grid to try to nail down just what they were going to require for infrastructure upgrades from the grid onto the property, and to provide for the two-way flow of electricity. That all finally gets sorted. And then there were some hiccups with ensuring that Grid would then actually build those upgrades. Our developer, solar developer, needs to pay for the upgrades. Grid needs to actually build them. And so there was some question as to whether Grid was going to build them in time for all of the construction to happen in 2022 to be timed up with connecting to the grid and going live. That's all now sorted. So we're going to be looking to come forward at an upcoming meeting. We'll just have to figure out how quickly we're ready, but sometime over the next couple of meetings. So we'll look to you to get on the agenda when we are a little better sorted, to be able to share that with the committee, and including, I think, of significant importance to all of us, the schedule for the solar canopy work here and at the high school. Rooftop work, ground mount work, a little easier to do. The parking lot work, have to really stage it, coordinate it properly so it doesn't cause problems for parking and access to parking when school's in session. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill.
So would that be, is that coming back to us for a vote or for a discussion? Because didn't we already vote?
A discussion, although the lease will need to go to the city council because of the length of it. I'm trying to remember, I think this body expressed a desire to make sure that we were comfortable with the schedule and the plan. So I don't, formally, is there?
I think we formally still do need to take a vote since
Yeah.
it's our property. That would be modified. And I think we were waiting to have more specifics about the schedule, as well as, any remuneration that would benefit the district. So we'll see if that can go into this facility and finance first for review and recommendation, but we'll look at the timing as well.
I wouldn't want to ask the developer to come 2 different nights. I don't know if it can be the same night.
It's the same night, yeah. So F and F, and then backs up to committee of the whole, if that works for the 26th. If that's too soon, we can.
It may be more of a next month thing, but
February,
I'll try to sort that. We talk with Dan weekly, so next time I talk with them, we'll see where they're at.
Thank you for that update.
Thanks.
I think I had just a couple additional things. I did attend the AIRS PTO meeting on Monday night, and I believe many of us received communications from a parent as Dr. Chorocek had reported out, asking about particular types of masks and whether we could make them available. I know that the original ask was for PTOs to fund purchases of N95 and KN95 masks. But that, I think that's just been a tricky area with so many counterfeit products and shipping dates that are false promises. So I think that we've addressed that in that earlier portion. I also had the opportunity to attend the middle school play, Schoolhouse Rocks Live Junior. It was amazing, and it's so disappointing that no recordings were allowed to be made. But for the families that were able to come on the snow day and see that we're on the Saturday, our kids are super talented. It was so wonderful to see so much participation. I couldn't believe all the people that were involved, and the stage crew and all the behind the scenes, the ticket takers, the ushers, or the shushers, as one of my friends misheard that. But it was just so awesome to be in the school and see those performances again. So kudos to all of the staff that was involved in making that happen and the parents that supported the students. I guess there was quite a bit of rehearsing that went into that. So I'm grateful also for Dr. Chorocek for letting the show go on that night. So great. And then I also received some feedback about the vaccine clinics and having those available and making that call to people to fill those cancellation spots, because that really relieved a lot of families that were having a difficult time finding those opportunities. So thank you again. Anyone else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick and Mayor Cahill. All those in favor? We're unanimous again, 7-0. Thank you so much, BevCam, for sticking with us, and for those watching at home, it's 9:38 p.m. Stay well.